Hello and welcome to another episode of AgilityCast. Today, Rick and I are talking to Wes from Rego Consulting, who is going to help us understand why it's so hard to upgrade. Not only CA PPM, but software in general. In the enterprise, this is one of the biggest nightmares any IT organization deal with. And Wes has come up with some good ideas of how to overcome it, and that's why we have him in the corner. So welcome to the show, Wes.
Thank you. Happy to be here. Appreciate you having me.
So tell me, you're out in the field a lot and you talk to a lot of customers. What would you say is the one or two, maybe three, biggest challenges when it comes to upgrading to the latest and greatest?
Yeah, I think to answer that question, you have to go back a little bit because the question or the answer to that question has changed over time. Really within the last, I'd say, maybe 2 to 3 to 4 years. I would have given you a completely different answer back then. It would have been much more technically oriented, having challenges securing infrastructure or keeping my infrastructure up to date. The process of actually upgrading the software is technically complex and takes some time and some patience. Those we don't hear much anymore. The focus now is much less on the technical aspects of it and more on the change management that's involved in introducing an upgrade. Technically, these have become really straightforward, especially in the last couple of releases of CA PPM in particular. They're more just like patches, essentially. But the latest releases, I think, as most folks know, come with a lot of new and kind of exciting features that folks are a little bit hesitant to introduce. And it really boils down to change management and a hesitancy for companies to jump into a new and fresh looking user experience. And that's been, I think, a major consideration for a lot of folks.
So they're comfortable with the older look and feel, and they're hesitant to moving, because it is much easier to use the new interface, but it looks quite different. Is that the problem?
That's a big part of it. It's a totally different look and feel, as you guys know. And with that just comes, there's some cultural resistance to change in general, but in particular with a PPM solution, there are project management processes that are established over years, and introducing a model that is presented in the modern UX may challenge some of those in a good way, but that introduces some friction, and that's always a hurdle to overcome when you're thinking about introducing a new upgrade or a new version of any software product. And CA PPM is a great example of that within the modern UX.
That's interesting. When you do an upgrade today, is that takes much shorter time than before? Or the reason I'm asking is, if you turn this on back in the days, you had 9 months, a whole year to do this upgrade. You can sort of roll it out. Now, when you do it, it tends to be faster, and you turn it on, and the impact is more immediate. Do you see any of that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the upgrade itself is measured in weeks now, if that. I've got customers that are taking upgrades over a weekend, kicking the tires on it on a Sunday and saying, yeah, let's move it to production the following week. So it depends on the implementation. It depends on the company as well. There are certainly companies out there that are early adopters, best way to describe them. They're fast moving, they're agile, to use the word here loosely. But they're anxious to take advantage of the new features and push them out to their users. They want to give their PMs, their community, the latest and greatest. And their community, the reason they do that is because their community is hungry for it. Right? And that's very much a company culture thing. The flip side of that, though, is also the case. There's people that know their PMs will push back on any change to the current processes. And in the case of the modern UX, there's a decent amount of context switching with the product that has been introduced over the last couple of releases. People have seen the first couple of iterations of the modern UX as being not quite ready for their kind of all-in use. They can't push people all the way into the modern UX, so they know that there's going to be some context switching between the classic UI and the modern. So they don't want to introduce that seemingly choppy flow to their PMs. But in reality, I think what you're going to find with those companies is that it's a bit of an evolution for them. That over time, I think they're going to come to the conclusion that the value that their users would get out of the modern experience is going to outweigh maybe some initial choppiness, right, in rolling this out. And again, which I think with some decent change management techniques, you can mitigate in most cases.
So so if there was one advice you want to pass on to the customer, what would that be?
I'd say to give one answer here, I'll give you a two-part one answer. One answer with two parts. How's that? That's a way to get out of that. One, understand what's in the release, and in knowing what's in the release, have a group of users be quote unquote early adopters, right? Folks that get into the modern user experience and use it to its fullest extent. Have them provide the feedback to the broader community. And I think it's going to be generally positive, and that's going to help with all of that change management. So know what they're going to be adopting, right? What's in, what's out, and have a set of users actually get in and use it live, use it in production. The flexibility is there. They can always go back to classic, right? But get this group of early adopters and call them early adopters, right? Don't call them pilot users, call them early adopters, because this conversion is going to happen, right? That's the direction the product's heading. So call them early adopters, get them into the system and collect their feedback, put them in a position to help shape and push some of that change management.
Rick, you also work out there with these type of people. What type of experience have you had around these type of changes?
Well, yeah, a lot of the same, but I would love to hear Wes's. Am I broadcasting? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I want to make sure that we hear from Wes on this, because he said something that was really key that I wanted to jump into when he was talking about corporate culture and also agility. Because you've got now a company the size of CA that's going into a more agile format, but then the downstream, right? The good thing of agility is that we're releasing more and more and more. The downstream effect is that our customer or organization may not be ready for that. Are you seeing the division around on-prem users versus SaaS users in where they're staying, with these releases? And just comment on that if you would.
Yeah, the huge distinction, right? The SaaS users are, I think, by and large, much more anxious to move into the modern UX, or more accepting of change. I think part and parcel of the fact that they made that decision in the first place to have CA own the underlying infrastructure of their product. That means they care less about the nuts and bolts behind the scenes. They care more about the functions and the functionality. So yeah, I think with users that are on demand, much more anxious to take into that, to jump into that modern experience. Again, the upgrade process is much simpler. You don't have to worry about any of the infrastructure or any of the details that happen behind the scenes, of course. With legacy on-premise users, most of those folks too, I think, have been on the product for a long time, right? Most of them jumped onto the product before there was a SaaS option even available. So in addition to the mindset that a lot of on-premise users have, that they like to keep everything under very tight control, they also have embedded a whole lot of configurations and customizations in a lot of cases that would make an upgrade more challenging, right, from a traditional standpoint.
Yeah, so by the time they're done with one upgrade, the next release is ready to go, and so that's what we're starting to see in the market as well. But I've not, certainly just in what I've experienced, I'm seeing that gap grow wider and wider, faster and faster. Meaning, that they've got to adopt a faster strategy to get to the release in on-prem versus SaaS. Yeah,
I totally agree. And you're seeing more of the on-prem customers evaluate the SaaS solution.
Yeah.
They ask the question more and more often now, and revisit it more and more often. So yeah, that's absolutely a trend at this point for folks, not only to move into an on-demand environment, but to position themselves to be able to take advantage of that continuous release cycle.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Wes. I really appreciate you taking time coming in here. If you want to know more about how Rego Consulting can help you with upgrades, you know where to find them online. And now it's time for Rick's Corner, where we talk about books and apps and other fun stuff.
Yeah, so I'm going to talk about a book this time, and it's one of the best that's on the market, especially around change management. But it doesn't sound like it's a normal change management book, but it's called The Coaching Habit. And it's one of the best guides to understanding on how you answer or ask questions and coach your team members. And what I love about it, some of the best advice I've ever received is if you give somebody the answer, you rob them of a lifetime of learning. If you help them figure out the answer, they'll understand it for a lifetime. And that was very profound to me. So the coaching habit teaches how to direct and become a better leader while in really empowering your team members and everyone around you to really seek more.
One day I should start reading all those books that you suggested. They sound really good. I just want to end on some final thoughts around the NFL season that's finally got up and running, and it's been a good season too. Even the people over at the Browns organization are winning, so anything can happen. But there are 3 lessons we can take from NFL into modern day PPM, and I just wanted to use this moment to refresh our memories because we know all this. First of all, there's no I in team. Collaboration today among agile and project teams is more important than ever. You can't wait till next week's conference call to ask a question. You need the answer now, whether that's an instant messaging or posting a question and get some answers within the app. That's up to you. But you got to act faster and you got to work together as a team. Which takes us to the second thing is you have to develop a whole team. You win as a team, you lose as a team. Because they have a superstar quarterback, a project manager who runs everything. But if he doesn't have good wide receivers, or if his offensive line doesn't hold up, then what good is his skills? These type of things work in Pee Wee football, but it doesn't work in the pros. So if you're going to have a PPM team, whether it's agile or not, you need to know that every role in there has to be fully developed and continue to develop to get better. And the third one is, and this sounds strange, but this is the biggest problem, we are all playing from different playbooks. Some are waterfall-oriented, some are hybrid, some are hardcore agile. Now let's take that and use that in football. I'm as a quarterback and my running back think that a draw play is one thing, but our offensive line and my wide receiver think the same play is something completely different. It'll look like a circus on wheels. And that's what many project organizations look at today, because we're not on one. You've heard experts come on this show to talk about the importance of having the right mix of hybrid solution. You don't have to be 100% agile. You have to be 100% waterfall. But whatever you choose, you have to choose as a team. You have to play according to that playbook. That's it for me and Rick. Thank you for coming, Wes. It was great to have you in the show. For all of you out there. Take care.
See you again.
Bye-bye.